So for context, for those of you who are brand new here, in 2017, I had 3 losses in less than 12 months. And through that experience, I wrote this book. And the main reason I wrote it is because at the time, I really wanted to read from someone who was going through it with me. And so I wrote this book. And over the last couple of years, I've been reading little bits of it to you here on my channel. And the comments that you leave on those videos tells me I need to keep going to get through the whole book. It's also quite interesting now that we're 7 years on from this experience. I have finished my family. I'm no longer going through this experience, to reflect on those feelings that still come up. Because I also want you to know that it doesn't hurt any less. I think it's just that I've become bigger and stronger and able to hold those feelings. I can feel overwhelming gratitude for my family and for what it is now, and still feel incredibly sad for those babies that aren't with me as well. So if this is the first time you're coming across a video in this series, I'll link the other videos in the series below, so you might want to go to them first. It will make sense so that you're listening to the book chronologically. And if you'd like to buy a copy of the book yourself, it will also be linked in the description box below. So where I finished up reading last time, I had just found out that I was pregnant again, and I was reflecting on not going with my regular GP last time and how that was a mistake, going to another doctor, because I was really trying to avoid the experience of even admitting that I'd had a loss before this pregnancy. So I just found out that I was pregnant. We're up to page 19 and it's dated the 3rd of February 2017. Rory has been the light of my days recently. It's been a pretty dark week. The other night, I sleepwalked for the first time in years. I woke wandering the house in tears looking for my babies. Needless to say, there wasn't much sleep after that. I feel like I'm not sure my heart can handle any more sadness. And no, universe, this is not a go on, try me statement. This is an I'm done announcement. Upswing only from now on. Thank you very much. 6th of February 2017. Sunrise feels different when everything is falling apart. I woke up to what feels like the start of my period this morning. I'm not sure where to even go from here. Every other time I found out there was something wrong was during an ultrasound. I'm praying my baby is okay, or at least for the strength to survive another loss. 7th of February 2017. If you're trying to get pregnant or are currently pregnant, whether happily or nervously, it's time to step away from the internet. The problem with turning to Google for advice on anything is that it will inevitably turn up the answer you're looking for. I know, sounds excellent. Exactly what you wanted, right? Unfortunately, no. It doesn't find the answer to your question, it finds the answer you want to hear. Google is the too scared to tell you the hard truth friend that you turn to when you're feeling doubtful and want to be pandered to. I know this because every time I've turned to Google when I've had issues with pregnancy over the last year, he told me everything I wanted to hear. The statistics said my chances of bad news were low, so it's going to be okay. Google didn't prepare me for the fact that someone had to be the statistic. Google told me there are thousands of women who've had the same thing happen to them and everything was okay. Google forgot to show me the results with all the other women who've had the same thing and it didn't turn out fine. Whatever your experience, there is someone out there who's had the exact same thing happen and it has turned out well, or it hasn't. Interestingly, it's only when things haven't gone well for me and I've started looking for the other side of the story that my searches have showed up that option as well. So now I'm less trusting of Google. I'm better at searching for answers on both sides of the coin, and ultimately I can find every answer imaginable and therefore none at all. So here we are again. I had some spotting over the weekend. I tried to stay calm and tell myself this happened in Eamon's pregnancy too, and he is more than fine. Monday morning though, I woke up to much more of a gush. But in hindsight, still actually not that much. I got in to see my obstetrician for a scan yesterday morning. I fully anticipated to be told the baby had already passed. It seems now I'm squarely in the camp of on the side of negative in order to not have my hopes completely obliterated by bad news. It's sad but true. But there on the screen was a perfectly beating little heart inside a perfect little bean. Relief, disbelief. We came home and had lunch. The sick feeling in my stomach that'd been there all weekend was finally gone. And Andrew left for work. The bleeding worsened. It was just myself and Rory home. He is obsessed with the toilet at the moment because we have just started toilet training. and he screamed outside the door as I sat and felt like it was all over. I passed some very large clots, but I was only in there for a few minutes. I think this is so hard to read because in hindsight, I can see how lonely it was through this experience. Like, so much of it happened on my own. And even if Andrew was there, because we had older children, he always would take them and look after them. But there were these sort of moments where it was just me and a child looking after someone else whilst falling apart internally. And I don't think I fully registered that at the time, how alone I was in this experience. I changed my pad and went outside to cry with Rory, ring my mum and Andrew and lie down. The bleeding was like a heavy period for a few hours, then slowed, and this morning is back to only light spotting. I'm at a complete loss. Is that it? Is it over? Is the baby gone? Surely it couldn't have happened so quickly. Google tells me with 100% certainty that my baby could be gone. No pain and the fastest miscarriage in history. It also tells me with certainty that I could go in to have another scan and we see the heartbeat of our baby, blissfully unaware of all the drama. Yes, it's definitely time for me to step away from looking to the internet for answers. I'm also at a loss for where to look for actual answers. My GP only works Wednesday and Friday and is impossible to get into. I can't get a hold of my OB, and even if I did, do I even want another scan? Perhaps that's what stirred things up in the first place. I'm unsure what I should be doing. Bed rest, getting on with life and just seeing what happens. I feel like I can't teach yoga because what if it worsens mid-class? In all honesty, yoga is the last thing I feel like doing. I guess it's back to the couch. I'm stuck in the in-between. The wait and see, the put everything on hold and wait place. It feels like the worst place to be. It feels like life is on hold. I overanalyze and agonize over every symptom, every twinge. I go to the toilet every 5 minutes to wipe and check for blood. Are my boobs sorer or softer than yesterday? The in-between consumes every thought. It's hard to make plans. It's hard to think beyond the next minute, let alone make plans for coming weeks and months. I've been in this in-between before, when I was pregnant with Orion and we were waiting for test results. Then to be told the bad news that he was not going to be the healthy, happy baby we'd imagined, and it was up to make the decision to go to full term or deliver early. It felt like a cruel joke that the world was playing on us, to make us decide to terminate a much-wanted baby. I spent a lot of time bawling and asking no one in particular, why is this happening to us? What did we do to deserve this? And now I'm in the in-between again. Some bleeding, followed by a positive scan, followed by more serious bleeding. Everyone is telling me to keep hope, but I feel like I need to protect my heart. I feel like it needs the protection of my doubt, of my already assuming the worst, so that the worst might hurt a little less. It's funny that I wrote this in those moments because that was one of the things that eventually when we tried again, many, many months after this, that I went into it not letting myself protect my heart like that. When I went into it again, I was like, you know what? I'm either going to be all in or I'm going to be all out. I'm either going to go in and know that this is going to hurt immensely and be positive and happy and excited for as long as that experience was going to allow me to be that way, or not do it at all. And I tell the women that I work with this as well. I think you go all in because realistically, when you step back from it, being hesitant and doubtful and pessimistic really doesn't protect your heart at all. It still hurts just as much. So I think you're better off giving yourself the gift of that time feeling good and feeling positive than sitting on that side of the negative, telling yourself the story that it might hurt less if you stay negative, because it really doesn't. 9th of February 2017, and for context, this is a day before my second son's birthday, so he would have been 1 turning 2. I went in for another ultrasound today. Baby was completely oblivious to all the drama. We saw our healthy little jelly bean heart beating away perfectly. Seriously, what a week. It feels like I've run a marathon, but all I've done is sat and slept. Only 33 more weeks to go. 11th of February 2017. My first 2 pregnancies can only be described as nothing short of ideal. If only I'd known how great I had it then, so I could have appreciated it more. I was very healthy. I only had minor morning sickness. I was 100% confident in my ability to grow a healthy baby. The only discomfort I had was some pelvic pain with Rory from about 20 weeks. I practiced strong yoga right till the end of both pregnancies with no problem. This one, after last week, and of course with the experience of the last two, is a whole other ballgame. I've never felt so disconnected from my body and so lacking in trust of its ability to grow a healthy baby. I feel like I'm waiting for bad news, for confirmation. I visit the toilet 100 times per day to check to see whether the bleeding is worse or it's finally stopped. I'm fearful of going too far from home in case the bleeding gets heavier again. I'm afraid to move too much in fear of making anything worse. My belly is tender and swollen. Some days I feel incredibly sick all day long and feel mildly calmed by this sign of a healthy pregnancy. My nausea makes me want to lie horizontal, eat all the food and not move too much. Then the next day, all sickness vanishes and I'm left anxiously looking for any sign of it. At the same time, also wanting to lie horizontal to avoid overstressing my already stressed body and stress eating all the food. Good times. For someone whose work involves teaching other women to trust their body during pregnancy, this is a particularly difficult experience. Though obviously something I needed to learn. But seriously, universe, I've had enough with the lessons now. Thank you very much. My body also feels sore and stiff from so little movement in the last week. I feel tired in my bones, both from all the stress, the first trimester, and also that sloth-like feeling that comes from lack of movement. I have that first trimester days where I can't seem to focus on one thing, nor make conversation because I feel like my brain is constantly elsewhere, constantly worrying about other things. I wish I could tell you I had the secret to learning how to trust your body again after you've lost babies. But I don't have any of these answers. Not right now anyway. I'm trusting that it's okay to be here in the not knowing. Maybe I will find the answers along the way, or maybe I won't. The only thing I know for sure is that I will get to the other side, that this experience won't be forever, that one day all this anxiety and stress and worry will fade, and that maybe I will struggle to remember what all the fuss was about. Can tell you I don't struggle to remember what all the fuss was about, and even just reading those words, in a way my body is transported back and I remember how debilitating that anxiety was, that my entire being, my entire world was consumed with thoughts of this baby and whether he or she would be okay. 26th of February 2017. Life feels endlessly on hold. 10 weeks today. This is as far as we made it with our last baby, so I guess I should feel positive about that. Although even now that little voice in the back of my mind says, but you didn't really make it that far. You just didn't know until then. This could be the same. I do feel different this time. I feel nauseous all the time. I feel very pregnant in my belly and in my boobs. Definitely more than last time anyway. I can't ever remember analysing all the symptoms more than I have during this pregnancy. Some days I feel like I'm driving myself completely crazy. 6th of March 2017. I have an obstetrician appointment in half an hour. I am terrified. In some ways, I feel like I'd rather stay in the unknowing. Please let our baby be perfectly healthy. Please let our baby be perfectly healthy. Please let our baby be perfectly healthy. 7th of March 2017. It's another dark day. You would think the sharp shock of it would be less by now. It's not. It's just as raw and as painful third time round. I think the darkness that follows is a little scarier now though. First time around, I felt like there was still hope, still another chance. We just had to try again. Now I don't even believe in my own strength to open myself up again to that risk. I feel so lost. How can this be happening again? Didn't I do everything I could? I literally surrendered everything. What more am I meant to do? 8th of March 2017. I've been awake since 4 a.m. The exhaustion from yesterday ran out and now I have to deal with the 11 billion thoughts rattling around my head. Pull it together. The most beautiful sunrise just appeared in the sky for a short 5 minutes, and with it, this thought. There will always be a new dawn, and all the beauty that comes with it. But before the dawn, there will always be the dark. So today I will hug my boys before I go into the hospital for yet another D&C. I'll be there when they get home from school and kindy, a little tender, but also achingly grateful for all of it. 9th of March 2017. I feel like I should write something profound about International Women's Day, but in all honesty, I can barely form a coherent thought at the moment other than an angry stream of thoughts at the universe in general. I have no big statement to make about how women are changing the world, but I can tell you how they're changing mine. This week, the women in my life have loved my boys like their own while I've slept. I don't know why this part makes me sadder than the part about actually having the D&C. It's like people being kind to me makes me cry more. That's strange, but anyway. They've held my hand as I cried. Women I've never met have cared for me in the darkness of a hospital room. They've left dinner on my doorstep. They've named a star for my babies and filled my house with flowers. Women have sent me messages just to say they didn't have any words to say. They've kept me in their thoughts and prayers, and it is in the smallest acts that I feel the most loved. Women are stronger than we will ever know. 10th of March 2017. How did we even get here? I feel a bit confused. Last I remember, I was enjoying having 2 boys. I had everything I'd ever wanted. A beautiful family, a house by the beach, work I enjoyed, enough money to do the fun things we wanted to do, support around me, good friends. I can't even remember deciding that a 3rd child was a good idea. The before and after of that moment in time now blur together. What made me come to that conclusion? What brought me to the point that decided our family wasn't complete without a 3rd? Now it feels like we're in too far. I feel like I've spent the entire last year thinking about a 3rd baby. It makes me sad because now it feels like time wasted. Time that I should have spent focused on the 2 beautiful boys in front of me. They have certainly been by my side in front of mine, but I feel like in some ways I've robbed myself of the enjoyment of that. I haven't felt complete within our little family because I've been so focused on having our 3rd. I have one distinct memory of total contentment before we lost Orion. I was putting Rory to bed, which consisted of lying next to him pretending to sleep while he did gymnastics on the bed beside me. I remember this overwhelming feeling of gratitude for the family we'd created. I had our sleepy babe within me, Eamon who was reading with Andrew in the other room, and our crazy blondie practicing his somersaults. Everything felt perfect, as if it were meant to be. I'm now at a point I don't recognize. How is it possible I've been through 3 losses? How is it possible I have more babies lost to me than in my arms? How did I arrive here? Of course, I remember the journey. It is burned in my heart and my body. I have constant flashbacks of various moments when I haven't managed to fill every single moment with busyness. An obstetrician saying to me after having repairs for a 3rd-degree test after Rory's birth, "Don't worry, this doesn't mean you won't be able to have any more children." I remember feeling confused at the time. That thought had never once occurred to me. So I wondered why he was even addressing it. It now stands out as something significant in time. An energy worker I visited after losing Orion who said to me, "He says when you're ready, he'll send the others." I now wish I'd clarified. Will there be any more living children? What a mess. This series just now feels like Bettina Cries on Camera. Maybe that should be its title. At what point is it time to make the decision to get off this road? And at what point do you put it all aside and say, enough? What I have is enough. We are enough, just our little bunch. At what point do you know that this is the right decision for you and not just one made out of fear of continuing to try and failing? At what point is it time to quit while you're ahead? Or not. In many ways, we could still just be scraping the surface of this journey. We've had no fertility testing. I've only had basic testing to see what the problem could be, and they found nothing. This potentially could be a very long road if we continue to go down it. Is this a road we even want to be on? How did we even get here? 14th of March 2017. So here we are with 3 little stars in the sky. It seems unimaginably horrible and cruel, and yet I know now I am not unique in this experience. After losing 1 baby, many women reached out to me and told me of their losses. Some mentioned numbers then. Most simply gave me words to let me know I was not alone. Now that I've lost multiple babies, I've become a part of a brand new shitty club. Perhaps they were protecting me before, knowing that I needed to focus on the positive, not on the likelihood that I could experience this pain many times over before I would get to hold my baby. I'm not sure whether to thank them for that or not. Mostly, I find myself feeling very lost right now. I spent most of yesterday starting and stopping random jobs around the house. I couldn't really focus or motivate myself to do anything. I'm restless. seeking distraction in all the usual places, but nothing seems to take the edge off anymore. A wise woman wrote to me the other day, "You need to water the flowers, not the weeds." At first I thought, isn't that what I've been doing? Haven't I been trying to make a positive out of this whole shitty experience? I've been trying to share my heart, not only because it feels helpful to share the thoughts that rattle around my head so I don't feel so crazy and alone, but also because I know it helps others too. But perhaps, in a way, this is also watering the weeds. I've been focusing on the negative, the sadness of it all, haven't I? I've mostly been sharing how scared and anxious I was in pregnancy. It wasn't a story of hope. Yes, I stand by the fact that this is the honest truth of my story, and I don't want to be sharing a fake, glossy version of anything. But by focusing on this, by sharing how scared and anxious I was, did I make the weeds grow? I remember reading comments on some of my blog posts over the last month and thinking, how can you be so positive? Or how can you be so optimistic after everything? Wishing I could just feel a touch of it myself. I think, my friends, there lies a problem. I've lost my optimism. I've lost my ability to see the possibility in anything, even non-baby related things. I find myself finding all the negative before I can even think of the positives. I've lost hope. Along with it, I've lost those feelings of love and excitement for life in general. Do you remember what it feels like to feel excited over something as simple as the crisp morning air reminding you that it's nearly Easter? I don't. I feel like I've been holding my breath, like I wasn't allowing myself to feel anything, trying to protect myself from being hurt again. And look how well that turned out. Do you remember what it feels like to plan life around holidays and things you want to do rather than around pregnancies and due dates? I don't. For too long now, my head has been quietly calculating how many weeks I'll be, or due dates, or dates I know I'll be too upset to do anything. Do you remember what it feels like to just do things for you? I don't. All of my self-care over the past month has been because I was trying to take care of this baby. None of it was for me. Now that I've lost another, I find myself struggling to even care. I find myself asking, why should I even bother? My head knows why, but my heart is too sad to listen at the moment. So I've decided it's time to take a break. 6 months, 12 months, perhaps indefinitely, I'm not really sure yet. Even just writing those words hurts my heart. It feels like giving up. It feels like giving in to the possibility that maybe there will never be a third baby for us. Perhaps that's a reality I need to face though. Or maybe just a reality I need to at least accept in order to find my hope and optimism for life again. I feel like I need to get back to living rather than waiting. I need to remember what it feels like to be blissfully happy without the added extra of when we have this baby lurking in the back of my mind, or even when we fall pregnant for that matter. I want to make lists of things I want to do that aren't determined by whether I'm pregnant or not, or whether I have a new baby or not. I want to remember how to feel grateful for what I already have. My head knows it, but my heart is struggling to feel. Maybe this is why I've been avoiding making these videos and actually finishing this video series around this book, because even 7 years on, it's really hard for me to read these words and to go back into that experience. Like, I have full-on stress sweats going on right now, and as you saw, I bawled through most of that, and the emotion came up just reading those words, and in particular that ending, that needing to decide that I was done, because after those first 2 losses, I really just went straight back into trying. It was like, I'm going to solve this pain by trying again. But after that third one, there was a real decision on my part of like, nah, can't do it again. Don't know if I can ever do it again. Done. Need to quit this. Need to fix the pain by almost telling myself I was never even going to have to do it again. Like I didn't have to risk my heart again. And in hindsight, I think that was really important for me. I think I needed to go through that and to put a full stop there and to be like, done. And then gently and slowly allow myself to come back to a healthier mental space, physical space. And then from there, gently allow myself the idea of going back into it with a completely different mindset. By the time I go back into trying again, I was feeling positive and hopeful, and I had decided that was how I was going to be. I was going to go into it positive and hopeful, and with my eyes fully open to knowing that the pain of losing another baby was worth the risk. It was worth risking all of that. All of the losses were worth it to have a healthy baby. And reflecting on that now that I have Luca, who was the next baby that comes after this loss, is, oh gosh, I'm just so grateful I kept trying. Like, what happens if I had have stopped and given in to those feelings and put it as a too hard basket? I am very grateful to myself for finding the strength to go back and try again. And I guess I just want to encourage that it's okay to take a break, and sometimes a break is really what's needed to come back to a place of feeling positive again. And even if you don't get your baby at the end of it, going through the experience again, starting at a positive and starting at an optimistic place is always going to be better than starting on the back foot and starting in that place of devastation. So if you've just been through a loss, or you've maybe had multiple losses like me, please don't shy away from taking a break. I know it can feel like I don't have time to take a break. I'm already this age. I'm already behind. I've already got this many losses behind me. Sometimes you just need to stop thinking about babies and pregnancy and all the things you need to do for fertility, and just let yourself be for a little while. So thank you again for being here and witnessing the mess that is me attempting to read this book to you. If you'd like to continue reading this yourself without my sobbing in the background, the link to purchase it will be below. And please, like I said, I honestly think real stories in real time is incredibly healing, to know that you're not going through this alone. So if you do feel called to share, please let me know in the comments. Where are you joining us from? What has been your experience with loss and miscarriage? And please reach out and send some love to someone else there in the comments, because it helps to know that you're not alone.